fit illegal ham in the face. But bro, where's the banjo?
Some Cleveland sports shows try to give you hot takes, but only one can give you a big old piece of hot ham. Welcome to Illegal Ham to the Face. Talking all Cleveland sports. And don't forget our Fat Boy Tuesday, where we also ham it up with some fun food topics. Without further ado, let's serve up some ham. Here are the Ham Boys, Fatty, and Big Bri.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into another episode of Illegal Ham to the Face. I am Jared Fatty Bates. Obviously, Big Bri is on his summer sabbatical. He will be back towards training camp. Justin is here in the comments already. Fatty failed just because Fatty fails. He goes, I'm here, but not paying attention, talking on online coding class. Attaboy. All right, so Justin's here in the chat. Anybody could join in the chat. With Bri away, I always try to bring on a special guest. And this week, I have another special guest joining us. We're going to be talking some guards tonight with this wonderful, wonderful man. Let's bring him in. Warm welcome to the Guardians cast on YouTube. Also, former TV broadcaster for Channel 5 News and meteorologist, Bryan Shaw. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on? Thank you for having me on, and I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thank you for joining us tonight in our little debauchery that is the Illegal Ham to the Face show. I hope you love the intro because I saw you smiling there for a little bit.
Yeah, it's really cool. Really good production. I like it a lot. It puts our little intro to shame on our MLB Guard cast.
I'm telling you what, Fiverr is a wonderful, wonderful place to go to get any kind of digital media you need. And we have a guy, and I'll send you a link when I'm done, that has hooked us up with all of our little videos that we got here tonight, especially for our trivia and everything else. So thank you for joining the show. Like I said, we are going to talk a lot of guards tonight. We got to get on the guards train. We're going to talk a little bit of Cavs. Bryan brought up, it's Fat Boy Tuesday, and we love talking food here in Cleveland, and especially on this show. And we're bringing up Northeast Ohio foods. Can't wait to get into that. And then finally, we're going to do our top 3 summer activities because it is summertime. It is hot. It is muggy, and it is gnarly outside. And my phone is blowing up right now, and I don't know why. I'll get to that later. But we always start out our show, Bryan, with some shout-outs. Obviously, we were not here last week. We took last week off, had some family stuff going on. So shout out to all the dads on Father's Day. I hope everybody had a blessed Father's Day. This week, I'm going to shout out my little niños. My little boys are turning 12 tomorrow. I can't wait for that. Alex and Charlie, happy birthday. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going to have a blast together. Also, Chris, birthday was on Monday, my brother-in-law, Chris. And then other than that, I don't have anything really going on. Do you have anybody or anything you want to shout out before we get the show started, Bryan?
Sure, I'll just shout out my neighbors on good old Ravine. I'm sure they're going to give a listen when I post the link. They're always real good to me and support my work, and anybody else that we get from from my social medias, from Facebook, from Twitter. Really appreciate you coming on and listening and then supporting you as well, Jared. So hopefully the little crossover helps us both.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And you can catch his on YouTube. It's the Guardcast. Is it the Guardcast?
MLB Guardcast.
MLB Guardcast.
YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts has it as well.
So go give them a like, subscribe, give them a 5-star. That's why we're diving into the nit-grit tonight when it comes to baseball, because this show we don't get super nitty-gritty with baseball. We talk a lot of it, but we're going to dive into it now because we are about, what would you say, about a third of the way through the season. It's got to be close to a third, maybe more than a third, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we're a little more than a third. We're at 70 games, so in 10 more games we'll be halfway through.
So we're going to dive into them and see what's going on with the trade block coming up, especially with all the chaos that is happening out on the West Coast. And dare I say, some crazy talk from a lot of crazy people with a lot of crazy trade scenarios. It's going to be nuts. But tonight, Brian, we always start our show off with a trivia, and our trivia is brought to you by City Dogs Cleveland. So since you're new to the show, normally Brian and I go back and forth on trivia. We keep asking each other trivia questions, trying to stump the next one. So what we do is we ask it at the beginning of the show, and then at the end of the show, we'll give the answer, give people time here in the comments to see if they can answer the trivia question. Now, this is a baseball trivia question for you. This should be an easy one. Like, I am softball pitching.
Okay. Oh boy. Pressure's on.
I gave Jay a baseball one, and it kind of took off of the longest hitting streak for the Cleveland Guardians ever.
Oh, longest hitting streak. I should know this because I'm sure they've talked about it on the broadcast plenty of times.
Now second was Sandy Alomar.
Okay. Now Jose had an on base. He still has a current on base streak that's going far. I'll have to let that simmer for a moment because they have mentioned it.
All right, we'll come back.
They have mentioned it on the broadcast who has the most. But
so that was my question to Jay. Okay. My question to you is coming up after we play our trivia sounder. You're going to love this. And like I said, our trivia is always brought to you by City Dogs Cleveland. We do have a beautiful new puppy to showcase tonight from City Dogs Cleveland. We got Astrid here. Look at this beautiful pup. She is one of the residents at City Dogs Cleveland down there on close to West 44th. They do God's work down there. If you can adopt her, please go adopt her. But if you cannot adopt, volunteer, donate, do whatever you can do to help out a City Dog Cleveland. The previous dog that we had on here before was Wyatt. He did get adopted. He was the longest resident. He had been in there since November. We got him out. He's broke out. And they have a whole bunch of other puppies. So please go to City Dogs Cleveland, near and dear to our heart. We love them. Justin, James is in here. And so Justin, I went to school with Justin, and we went to school for a very long time, and we're talking about fatty fails once a semester in grade school, 5 times a semester. Yeah, we're just getting into the stuff that I did when I was in school. Yes, I failed a lot, but C's to get degrees, and we're just going to keep up with that. So, Brian, the question and trivia I have for you tonight, first off, Jose, 39 on base. Got broken last night or yesterday or whatever day it was, Sunday. That is the most so far in Cleveland in a very long time. Who holds the longest streak of on base in Cleveland, and who holds it nationally?
Nationally, I'm going to guess somebody like Barry Bonds with all the walks that he had in his home run era. So not Barry Bonds? No?
No, we'll save it till later.
Okay.
We'll save it till later. So it's not Barry Bonds, so you take that one off the list.
All right.
All right. So you got to name me a Cleveland Guardian with the most on bases and the MLB leader of on bases.
All right.
It was close to Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds is close, but
okay.
This other one kind of.
I have another guess.
All right. Let's get into our Cleveland headlines, and we will play that guy, and we will definitely start getting into some nitty gritty. As soon as I find the clicker here. There we go. First off, in your Cleveland headlines, Brian, we're going to get into some crazy season right now. We're going to talk Cavs first and then dive hard into the guards. Right now, Desmond Bane got traded to the Orlando Magic. They gave away some first-round picks, beefed up that roster. You got the Pacers now down 3-2 with Halliburton getting hurt in the NBA Finals. everybody's concerned about the Cavs and where they're going to be come next year, especially with Tatum out for an extended period, with the Knicks where they're at. Does this trade of Bane going to Orlando kind of knock the pecking order down a little bit for your Cleveland Cavs? Or does this alert the Cavs and say, hey, we got to do something? Everybody else around us is doing something.
I think they have to do something just for mixing it up, because you have had kind of the same ending the last 3 seasons. And I do think you've got to mix it up a little bit, because you did change your coach last off season. And so there are some roster moves to be made, but I think it's more because of how open the East should be. It is hard to ignore that the Cavs were the second most efficient offensive scoring team in NBA history, or something along those lines, last year in the regular season. I know that's just the regular season, and the playoffs are a different game, but we did see that we have Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro on the trade block. So we'll see, what happens there. Probably just looking to move off of that money for Okoro. Are we going to lose Ty Jerome? Is he going to sign a free agent contract with somebody else, or are they going to bring him back? I did mention to some friends during the playoffs that you almost felt like Ty Jerome could have played his way back on the team because of how poorly he played in the playoffs for some of those games. And if they do lose Ty, is Porter Jr. going to be able to step up and be that backup if they don't trade Garland? There's a lot of questions there in terms of kind of the second tier guys. I mentioned this when you and I did our last podcast, not your Tuesday show, but just with the Cavaliers, I'd like to see the core 4 stay together. I think that they should still stick together because of how well they played during the regular season. And I just like the way those guys play. And it looked like Kenny Atkinson had figured that out. But, maybe some of the bench players need a little bit of a shuffling.
Yeah, and it noticed to me watching the NBA Finals and watching these teams, obviously you got SGA, you got Chet Holmgren, you got all these guys that are just, all-stars all around. But what I'm noticing more is the role players, Alex Caruso, TJ McConnell, all these guys that are stepping up in this entire postseason. And we thought we were going to get that with, Max Strus, with DeAndre Hunter, the trade for DeAndre Hunter, who got hurt and all that stuff. Do you think we need to get rid of like Okoro and maybe Wade and bring in a different core dynamic when it comes to our bench and the role players that we need to go along with the core 4? Because it seems to me like we have to get bigger and more athletic, especially the way the NBA is played now.
It seems, this has been talked about by a lot of people to get tougher. And if Jarrett gets hurt, if Mobley gets hurt, who's your backup big man? Same as if you lose Ty Jerome, who's your backup guard? Who's your backup big man? So I think there are some spots that they have to figure out, because and that seems like, Dean Wade being on the trade block, because he kind of was your backup big man there and played in the smaller packages, played center and power forward. I don't know. I think that's where you've got to mix it up. And then unfortunately for Okoro, it seems like he just fell off. He just kind of lost his spot. He did get a little bit of playing time when Ty Jerome was playing really well, but there was a period of time where I did really like Karras and Okoro, because those guys played everywhere. They played wherever they were asked. And that's a really tough, I think, at times, to be a starter, not be a starter, be a guard, be a forward, be a wing, taking up the ball, like playing all over the place. I'm sure that's got to be difficult. And those guys seem to do it often, Levert and Okoro, and, with mixed results at times. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do mix it up a little bit. If basically outside of you know, Strus and Hunter, if basically everybody else, you've got, I guess, your top 6 or 7, and then everybody
Mhm.
they might shuffle up.
I would like to see them try to get another guard to be able to help move the ball up the front court. It seemed like this entire series, and I'm watching it now in the NBA Finals, they're pretty much got a man on you as soon as you inbound the ball, and they're riding that guy all the way up until they get in the half court. And I think what killed us the most is one, with Garland being hurt, not being able to do what he needed to do with his toe injury, with them riding Mitchell the entire way up and tiring Mitchell out. I mean, if you looked at it at the end of the games, Mitchell was gassed in some of the games because he was trying to do everything. I really do think they need another. And I love Ty Jerome. I love the way he plays. I love his tenacity. He is not a true. He's not quick enough to be the true bring up guy. You
Mhm.
need a kind of a quicker guy to be able to get past half court, get the ball up, get everything moving. Now, once you get there, you give it Ty Jerome. That's fine. Now, whether that be Porter, if he works on his skills, or if they go after somebody to help him out with that situation, but I think that will help him out the most. And like you said, I really do think they need another big inside. And I love Tristan Thompson. Don't get me wrong, Tristan Thompson was there.
He's getting older.
Well, he's not going to be. He's not even close to the same position, and it's always either Mobley or Allen, and then they would bring in Dean Wade, and then sometimes put Hunter down there in the power forward position. I really do think they need another big guy to kind of help, and I need a big guy that's not the stretch big guy that's going to go out and shoot threes. I need another big guy down there to kind of push people around and get them off the ball down there and get some rebounds.
Yeah. Yeah, because then that can free up Mobley as well, as he continues to develop that, more outside shot and those kinds of shots. And, you bring up a great point, too, about Garland's injury and, the playoffs in general. The Cavs, do you make a change for the sake of making change? Because the Cavs were one of the best teams in the NBA during the regular season. And do you chalk up the part of the disappointing loss in the playoffs to Garland getting hurt? Now, I know a lot of people were disappointed in Garland and wanted him to tough it out. But if he needs surgery and he's out, what was it, 4 to 6 months? Like that's obviously a pretty serious injury that he was playing through. And you saw that. I mean, he was collapsing on the floor trying to push off on that foot, and it was just giving away. So, during that Pacers series, it never really felt like you had your full strength. But, some more would argue, well, that's the NBA. That's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And so then maybe that's why you do need to shuffle up that bench a little bit, because the role players that you had weren't stepping up at that time, when you did need them.
Mm-hmm. And that was the thing. I mean, during the Miami series, they were on fire. Everybody was on fire in the Miami series. Then you got to the Pacers series, and it felt like they got punched in the mouth a little bit. And once they got punched in the mouth, there's only 2 reactions you have. Either you run away or you fight back. And it looks like they kind of took a step back, and especially in that, second game when they were up 20 and they let that just slide away from them. It was like, okay, guys, you're getting out physical again. And we talked about this last year with the Knicks. Like, you just got bullied out of the playoffs by the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, I almost wonder if after the really good regular season and then that series against Miami where you set the record for biggest margin of victory, totality, I almost wonder if they thought it was going to be easy, if they were going to coast to the finals. And then the Pacers did come in and punch you in the mouth. Mm-hmm. And I don't particularly care for how rules are different in regular season and playoffs. Like, why is it a different style of basketball? Why are less fouls called? Why is it allowed to be more physical? If that's going to be the case, do that during the regular season or play the same. Why is, I don't know. And maybe that's just me being not a hardcore NBA guy, and maybe I don't understand that. That's valid, but I don't get why there's a difference. Why it's called different, it's played different. In once the playoff starts, like, oh well, now we're gonna let them play. Now we're gonna be you can be more physical. Well, why?
Do you think it's because during the regular season they don't want the stars hurt, so they're going to call ticky-tack fouls? But during the postseason, it's like, okay, everybody's here. This is the run that we got to go on. Like, we're not losing, LeBron to a stupid, ticky-tack foul injury. We're not losing KD or Steph to, something that can't be helped. But it just seems like everybody turns on that switch when it comes to play, and everybody knows that you can be more physical because
sure, I'm sure there's a load management aspect to it, but what if you lose a guy in the playoffs? That completely changes the series. Like, I mean, look at Halliburton for the Pacers.
Oh, I got a good one for Halliburton for
you. I mean, when he's on, and he hits threes, they win. If you can shut him down, or if he's injured like he was yesterday, they can't win. And so, yeah, a calf injury isn't necessarily from being physical, but the point is that one player's injury can really turn a series. Or if from the Cavs perspective, Darius Garland not being able to really play on an injured foot.
Yeah, I had about Halliburton. I got a little grief today with a couple people I was talking to. I called Halliburton the OBJ of the NBA.
Odell?
Yeah. The only reason, let me explain. The only reason why I said it is because if you look at him, yes, he's hit some game winners, he's hit some great stuff, but there's also times he disappears.
Yeah.
And I mean, not a little bit disappears, like off the map disappears, and then he'll come back for one game and score 25 and have 13 assists and 8 rebounds. Everybody's like, look how good he is. And then the next game, he disappears.
Well, that was the one game the Cavs won, right? Halliburton didn't do anything.
Yeah, and nothing. And he did nothing. But it's like everybody is just all over Halliburton right now. I'm like, okay, he hits game winners. Awesome. I can too if the coach draws it up for me and I can shoot the ball. Like, like anybody can hit a game winner, guys. Like, come on, man. Like, it's not that everybody's like, oh, he's got ice in his veins for a clutch. Yeah, okay, I could throw it up half court too, and knock in one every once in a while. And the one that he thought that he won in New York, was just a 2-pointer and just tied it. And it's like, okay, well now don't you look stupid? I think he's a good / great player. Is he a great / elite player? I don't think so. I think he's a really good player. I think he is a great player. Yeah. But I don't think he's on that elite of the elite, and people are trying to put him on the elite of the elite.
Yeah, I get what you're saying to an extent, and probably a lot of people are catching those highlights, are catching those winners, and his name is just mentioned a lot, so they are attributing that. But yes, you are correct that when he disappears, I mean it's usually curtains for the Pacers in that game.
He had 4 points last night.
Yeah, but he was hurt. He's got a calf strain. He was hurt. So, and calf injuries always scare me with any NBA player because it always feels like that's leading to an Achilles injury.
Because of KD?
Well, it's because it feels like a lot of guys. Just a lot of guys right now.
KD in the finals against the Cavs?
Yeah. Well, I feel like since that one, I'm sure John Doss from Channel 5, sports over there. I had asked him, I forget who else had a calf injury, but it was another one after the Watson injury. And I said, does it feel like Achilles tears are just rampant right now? Like ever since that KD one, everybody knows to watch for the calf reverberation. Like, and before that, like you never really heard about Achilles tears. It was like, do you remember in the mid 2000s in the NFL, like every guy seemed to be tearing his patella tendons?
Oh yeah,
it's like a run of injuries like that. I don't know if it's the training that they're doing, if it's the way that the game is being played differently, but it just seems like that the Achilles right now it's like the new ACL. Everybody seems to be just tearing Achilles.
Well, it's like you watch the Aaron Rodgers and the Tatum like video playback, and you just see it. And it's like Yep, he's done for a while. That's
Oh,
a
that's
year.
what it was. It was after the
Yeah.
Tatum injury. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Everybody sees it. Everybody sees the calf, the calf vibration, and they're like, oh yeah, that's an Achilles injury. But 5 years ago, you never heard about all these
No.
calf injuries. It wasn't as
No.
common, and now it's like every other guy's getting one.
It almost say you might as well just restructure it up before you start like Tommy John surgery. Just go ahead and anchor that thing down, and then we won't have this problem. All right, speaking of Tommy Johns, let's get into some Guards baseball. What do you think?
It's been a really ugly stretch. It's been really tough to watch. On Father's Day, I'll admit, after the Grand Slam, I was like, okay, this one's done. And it's very rare that I turn a game off because at least this year's Guardians team does seem to rally, does seem to come back late, especially against bullpen pitchers. But yeah, that one just was like, nah, this one's over. And it really stunk that they weren't able to get game 2 with the Class A blown save, which is his first one in quite a while. I know he had that tough stretch at the beginning of the season, but he has been pretty lights out since then. There was a solid month in there where he had an entire earned run of like 1. So disappointing stretch. But I said this. I don't know if it was privately or it was on the show, but I do think they can come out of it. I do think that there's an easier stretch coming. It's nice that they're playing all these West Coast games all together. I don't know if it's going to happen against the Giants, but it does tend to happen. As soon as you count this team out in any given way, they surprise you. So watch them take 2 of 3 against the Giants, especially after the Giants just traded for Devers. So they'll do something weird like that and end up winning the series and start to go on a run. But they have played one of the lowest amounts of games against teams below 500, and they're just on a cold stretch right now. I did a comparison. The team was really, really good at this point last year. They had gone on that really, really hot streak, almost like what the Tigers are doing right now. And then kind of the second half of the season, they were basically 500 the rest of the way. And I was looking at a comparison of like who was really performing last year, what the differences were from last year to this year. And at this point, Stephen Kwan had a 191 WRC plus. Do you talk about WRC plus on your show at all?
We don't talk that kind of. You're talking a foreign language to us right now. So we are not that nitty gritty.
All right. WRC plus is weighted runs created, and then the plus stat is basically based on an average. So if you have a 100, that means you are average. So an OPS plus, a batting average plus, a slugging plus, any of those plus statistics, 100 means you are a league average. And then if you are, in Stephen Kwan's case, a 191, that means you're 91% above league average. Basically, you were, you're elite. That's the highest high. So you had a 191 WRC plus last year. David Fry, 180. Then you had several guys that were close to average. Tyler Freeman, Andreas Jimenez, Will Brennan, Brian Rocchio. All those guys either aren't on the team or you're not getting that same thing right now from some of those role players. Yes, you have Daniel Schneemann who is playing pretty well, but right now, since May 1st, Kyle Manzardo, only a 69 WRC plus. Gabriel Arias had a nice first month, but he's at a 65 WRC plus since May 1st. Angel Martinez also had a nice start when he came up, but right now, since May 1st, a 49 WRC plus. So those role players that, outside of your Jose, Kwan, Santana, Schneemann, those role players aren't performing right now since May. They did at times, but the difference of last year, you had those outside guys playing closer to average, and that's all you really needed. You had your stars, and then you had 3-4 guys playing near average, and you don't have that right now. Plus, think about how much playing time Will Wilson was getting for the season. He had a 46 WRC plus. Brian Rocchio was a 26. Right field as a whole, because of John Kenzie Noel and Nolan Jones's slow start, a 51 WRC plus out of that position. Like that's really bad when you're 50% plus below league average in terms of offense. So that is a really rough stretch, and I don't expect that to continue. Like, we've seen Angel Martinez play pretty well. We've seen Kyle Manzardo and what he can do. I don't expect them to continue to be having this really tough stretch. So I think they'll come out of it. The other side of that is last year, the bullpen was the best in the majors. Last year's bullpen at this point in time was first in ERA at a 2.33. They were second in saves and second in holds, meaning the pitcher that came in kept the lead if they had the lead. This year, they're 12th in the league in ERA at a 3.73. So basically a run and a half higher over 9 innings. So basically the bullpen is giving up essentially an extra run every other game than they were at this point last season. And then they're 6th in holds and 15th in saves so far this year. So the bullpen being in the middle versus being the best, that's a huge difference in terms of what this team can do.
And also I've noticed, and you're going to have to talk me off the ledge on this one, because normally Cleveland is known for starting pitching. All right. We've had a plethora of aces and starting pitchers that you can go out there, you give them the ball, and you're at least going to be close to being guaranteed to win. Now, Bibee, I love Tanner Bibee. Do I think he is a true ace? I do not. I think he is a 1B. I think he is a great pitcher. Do not get me wrong. Gavin Williams needs to find a strike zone and to stay with certain pitches instead of running away from them. And Ortiz, God, I love Ortiz's stuff. I love his stuff. He just can't control it sometimes.
Yeah.
And what I'm noticing the most is we got our starters out there, like the games that I've watched. Tanner Bibee's pitching a gem. All right, we're going to send him out there in the 7th inning. And then, boom, mistake, gone.
Yep.
Ortiz, pitching great. Mistake, grand slam. I'm watching our starters, and it's not that they're horrible. I'm not saying that they're horrible and they're giving up a whole bunch of runs, but it's not the starters we're used to here in Cleveland. It's not the Corey Kluber followed by Carrasco going out and giving you a good solid 6 innings. We're not getting that from our starting staff, I feel like. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. I think it's the 2019 rotation with Shane Bieber is basically the 5th starter. Shane Bieber's rookie season was just all those guys were like a 3.5 and lower.
I mean, you don't need him to be perfect. I'm not saying to be perfect, but when you're not getting the run support from the offense that you're supposed to be getting, because there were 6-13 in the last 19 games. A lot of those losses have been 4 runs or less. I think like 12 of those games have been 4 runs or less.
Yeah.
All right, you're not getting the offense. You need a solid start from your starting pitchers. At least try to keep everything in the game to maybe hope that your offense catches lightning in a bottle, and it just seems like we're not getting that.
Well, and so it's twofold. So, I mentioned all those bad offensive stats and how since May, like all these guys are underperforming. But the starter ERA is a 4.17, which is 20th in the league. And so there's your 4 run right there. Your 4 runs. I mentioned the bullpen is basically average this year. That Bibee moment that you mentioned in the 7th, giving up like a 2-run home run or giving up 2 runs in the 7th. When you're not scoring runs, that has so much extra weight to it. That has so much extra. Saccone the other day gave up 1 run, had the loss because Guardians got blanked.
I like that kid, by the way.
Yeah, I think,
really like that kid.
And all the guys you mentioned, all of them, you watch their stuff, you watch and you're like, oh, that looks really, really nice. But yeah, there's still elements of, okay, Bybee could probably be a little less emotional when things aren't going right. Like it seems like a no
He gets amped
call,
up. Mhm.
an infield blunder really bothers him. Gavin being able to recover from a first pitch home run, those kinds of things.
Which he
Ortiz
seems to
being
do a lot, by the way.
he had a few of them, yeah. Ortiz being more consistent. He'll have a gem of an outing and then a stinker and then a gem and then it's like, and I wonder if this is, can you just attribute that to like these guys are young? They've kind of revamped this rotation. That's where they put
Mhm.
all their resources this past offseason. They didn't invest in the offense all that much outside of signing Carlos Santana. They invested in starting pitching and then got free
Okay.
agents in the bullpen. And so they were putting their eggs in the development of, John Kenzie Noel continuing to get better, Rocchio building off of those playoffs, Arias stepping up, Angel Martinez stepping up, Lane Thomas not being injured, all those things, and none of it's happening right now. And so then on top of that, you're going through growing pains with your starting rotation where you see moments, you see those times where you're like, oh, this guy could be really, really good, but there's still some things that they're working on. And, adding pitches. I think adding Kluber to the coaching staff is really going to
It's
help them.
huge. I think
Um,
it's huge.
but it is a June swoon right now. It's really ugly to watch. I'll admit that. Like it's just a tough watch when you feel like they're not scoring runs, and then a grand slam like Ortiz did give up because of a mistake. You're like, well, that's it. So I don't know. There's been some injuries to the bullpen. Guys like Eric Sabrowski, you were hoping
Mhm.
was going to be a contributor. Andrew Walters, was hoping was going to be a contributor. You are going to get Trevor Stephan back. But the bullpen being average versus the best in the league and having an ERA that's a point and a half higher, like that's just a huge difference, regardless of what the offensive is doing.
It feels like right now, like let's talk about the offense because there's rumors swirling everywhere, and we'll get into those here in a little bit because good God, it is silly season now, and we're 60 games, 70 games in. But what's killing me about this offense is let's be honest, you have 3 professional hitters in this lineup. That's it. And I mean professional hitters. You have Stephen Kwan, you have Jose, and you have Santana, who is actually starting to get hard. But everybody else in this lineup, what's killing me the most is you get guys on base, and then you're watching you guys just swing at something stupid. Now, hey, I would strike out 100 times out of 100. I know I would. I would be swinging like crazy. But you're up here actually playing in the major leagues. You can play smart. You don't have to hit the home run to get to 3 runs. Put it in a gap somewhere. Did we lose that at some point in time with this team? Because it seemed like last year, those guys weren't hitting the home, well, except for Noel, because that's all he did. But it seemed like there was a lot more gaps. There was a lot more doubles. There was a lot more of the moving the base runners than what we got this year.
Yeah, even at the beginning of the season. So, Chris Valleca, the hitting coach, he went to Cincinnati with Tito, and a lot of fans didn't like Valleca. And Grant Fink came from the minor leagues, I believe. He was promoted. And at the beginning of the season, it did feel like guys were more patient. I do recall when Vogt was hired, he had an interview where he was talking about he wanted guys to be more aggressive for last year. And that seemed like that was working. And I had a conversation with Jim Rosenhaus from the radio in our season preview with my co-host Mike Voorhees, and he had said that was Valleca's idea, to be more aggressive up front. And then it looked like at the beginning of this season with Grant Fink that there was a little bit of a philosophy shift where guys were taking their walks, guys were being definitely more patient, and it feels like they're getting away from that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a slider away just seems like to put so many guys away on this team.
Oh yeah,
A slider down and away, and good night. I don't know what you do about that. I would like somebody to ask Vogt or somebody to ask Antonetti, coming up here closer to trade deadline of, well, you're not developing hitting really that well over the last several years. You're not acquiring any offense. You're not getting them in free agency. We've heard about middle infielders for the last 10 years, prospects of middle infielders for forever.
20.
And
20 years.
And none of them are producing. None of them have shown up. We've heard about all these guys, and going back to, guys like Ernie Clement and Owen Miller and now, Rocchio and Arias and Tyler Freeman and just so many guys. And none of them are producing right now, as you were looking to find, this replacement to Francisco Lindor. Even, Ahmed Rosario did produce for a little while, but then he completely fell off. And then Andres Jimenez had that one good year. Terrible the next couple of years. Terrible this year. I don't disagree with that trade.
No,
because
God no.
Toronto fans can't stand him right now. But regardless of if you got off a bad contract and if you are moving on from these players, the problem is you're not getting anybody back. And so I would like to hear from somebody on the team of, well, who's this fall on? Like, who all these struggles right now? Is this on the hitting coach? Are you just putting it on the players? Is this a cultural hitting development problem? What are you attributing this to, and how do you fix it? Is Antonetti going to take responsibility and say, you're right, I have to find better players, better hitters, or, we have to draft better? Where's the disconnect? Because what they've done in pitching, it feels like it's the opposite for hitters.
Yeah, like they're declining in the hitters section.
So I would like to hear from somebody. You mentioned trade scenarios. Given the team is basically sitting at 500 right now, if they aren't in the hunt, are you going to move on from players and start to make trades? It's a little too early to tell. Like, we still are a solid 6 weeks away from the trade deadline. So I don't expect a lot of movement, regardless of, the Devers thing. I think the Devers thing was more about, being disgruntled. Same thing with Aaron Savali. You saw Aaron Savali move. That was more because he got pulled from his rotation spot with the Brewers. And so they were like, okay, you can go to the White Sox and go start there. Have fun.
I'm actually loving that, because at the time I was kind of pissed off they traded away Savali. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, okay, now I see it.
Yeah, but Manzardo's got to show up. He's not been very good since May. And so that's a great point, because that season, the 23 season, when you traded Josh Bell, when you traded Ahmed Rosario, when you traded Aaron Savali, and basically you were like, okay, we're not making the playoffs this year. But then you did the weird thing where you got Lucas Giolito like late in the month.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the same thing, that if you trade, basically everybody who would be on an expiring contract, Jacob Junis, Carlos Santana, and Lane Thomas, towards the end of this season, is everybody going to be mad that you sold instead of went for it again? Like, is it going to be the same thing? Because I'm already seeing.
I think this year's kind of different with that, though, isn't it?
In what way?
Well, we sit there and we talk about it, and I know that years to years are going to be different than everything else. But there's times where you're sitting there looking at a team and you're like, okay, they're going to sell. You're going to be upset with that, blah, blah, blah. Like this year, like, are you really going to be upset if they trade away Santana, who is a 39-year-old first baseman?
I
you know what I mean?
Well, in the aspect of, I would rather them, if they're close, go for it. And that's what people were mad about in the 23 season, that they were only a couple of games out of a playoff spot or out of the division, because the division was terrible that year. So they wanted them to not sell, but to enhance the roster. And then, there's the whole thing about Josh Naylor being mad at the front office because they felt like they were giving up on the season. No, I guess not. I mean, the fan base has been trying to get rid of Carlos Santana basically since the season started. In March and April, you wanted him cut, and now in May, people are talking about how he's taking away at bats from Kyle Manzardo, who isn't performing right now, by the way. And Santana is one of the few guys who is. He's got an 826 OPS since May, the second on the team. Why are you talking about trading him just to get at bats for Kyle? You're only doing that if you are giving up on the season, because like when a team needs offense, you're not getting rid of offense. I mean, and on the other hand, if they had not brought in Santana and they went into this season with just Kyle Manzardo and then an eventually recovering David Fry, I feel like fans would have been really upset by that, by like not getting a replacement for Josh.
Mhm.
So I don't know. It seems very fickle, like very back and forth. It's like all of a sudden, well, let's get rid of Carlos Santana and give Kyle Manzardo every day at bats because he needs to develop and he needs experience. But I feel like you're only doing that if you're giving up on the season. And maybe some fans are. Maybe some fans are thinking this season's already over. Let's start to get more development out of those young players. But I don't know. I don't, because the thing is that if you were a little bit better right now, a guy like Carlos Santana is somebody you probably would be wanting to bring in because on a rental and as a hitter. I just don't want to be getting rid of offense is really all. And I'm surprised that so many people want to dump Santana.
It's okay for me. It's almost. I didn't want to talk Browns tonight, but it's almost Brownsian. But just hear me out, because you have Carlos Santana. I'm not saying that he is not a good baseball player. I'm not saying he's 39 years old, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he won't be here next season. He's a free agent.
He won't be here next season. You also have Joe Flacco, who is 41 years old, who is not going to be here probably next season after this is gone. Wouldn't you rather want to see the young guy, even if he struggles, just so you know what you have at first base, so that either next year or the year after you can kind of figure out what you need to do at that position? Let him get the season in?
Not yet. Yes, but not yet.
Now, if they're out of it, though, then it's
right. Then go ahead. If they have a below 500 record by the trade deadline, then yes, Santana, Lane Thomas, anybody on who's going to be a free agent is going to be gone. And then you get 2 months of young players to see who you have out of these guys. But I'm not there yet. I don't think this season is over yet. I think there are, they clearly expected to compete. You don't sign Shane Bieber and he's not coming back until July if you don't expect to be competing in July. You know what I mean? Like, otherwise you trade Shane Bieber too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but you're getting depending on what Shane Bieber comes back, and I'm not predicting he's going to be the Shane Bieber of old. You're getting an ace of a Cy Young winner on a cheap deal coming back here because nobody wanted to go after him because of his Tommy John surgery. But Cleveland put out.
But Matt Boyd did pretty well after his Tommy John, and in the second half of the season, he started playoff games for them. I don't see why Bieber can't be the same way, especially given how well he looked at the beginning of last season before he needed his Tommy John.
He looks so back.
And then you also, now John Means is a little bit of a different story where he is under contract for next season as well. And Bieber does have an option and they can keep him. I'm not ready to give it up yet. I'm not ready to say like, okay, we can trade Carlos because this season's done and I want to see the young guys. I feel like it's too early in the season to do that.
Okay. So we have 6 weeks before the trade deadline. All right. When should we start panicking?
if they start to drop well below 500, say they get like 5-6 games below 500 in the next 2 weeks, then it's probably over.
Okay.
I would say that. I mean, we'll know. I think these next couple of weeks are going to be a lot. If you are, if you start to come out of this lull, then a month from now we could be singing a very different tune. I mean, because everybody in the division's on a skid. I don't know if you've looked at the standings lately. They haven't really lost ground during this skid because everybody else is also on the same skid in the Central. So I don't expect them to win the division, but I haven't looked at the wild card. I think they're only like a half or a game back behind Tampa.
Yeah, but there's 30 teams in the wild card that are all within shooting distance. There's only like 2 teams that are out of the wild card, right? Am I wrong?
Let's see. Hang on. So why isn't it loading? There we go. Come on.
There's got to be at least 20 teams.
They are one game. They are one game out of the wild card. You have 4 teams who are outside of the wild card who are within a game. The Angels, Royals are within striking distance, about 3 games back, and then Orioles, Athletics, White Sox are out. So you're one game out of the wild card. Are you really
30 other teams that are in the wild card are done?
Valid, but to that point. But hang on. But to that point, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 teams: Boston, Minnesota, Seattle, Texas, and Cleveland, with basically identical records.
And we just got swept by Seattle.
Yes, we did.
And it was ugly. Embarrassing. All right. So I do have a glimmer of hope for everybody. And I heard this today, and I want to kind of bring everybody's spirits up because I've been kind of Debbie Downer right now because I'm kind of upset that they're where they're at. I was expecting them to be better.
Sure.
Not a lot better, but I was expecting to be better. But for the first half of this season, right now, their rank and strength of schedule is 6th. They have been playing tough teams.
That's what I meant by They have one of the
second half
fewest games.
28th.
See?
So fingers crossed.
See, and so, we've seen a lot of the guys that I had talked about who are underperforming. It's going to be go time for them because either they get out of it and you're happy that they are getting out of it. Gabriel Arias, I'm looking at you. Or these guys are going to start to get replaced by guys in AAA. You're going to see some younger guys like a CJ Kafis, like a Chase DeLauder.
I would love to see Kafis.
So, and I don't think bringing those guys up is saying like, well, let's see what you have in a young guy for the sake of seeing what you have in a young guy. No, it's because they're doing well in AAA, and you need to start to infuse this team with a little bit of offense.
But with Arias, who are we going to place Arias with? Are we going to bring Rocchio back up?
I don't know. That's
the thing.
I don't know.
That's the thing.
Or do you run an Angel Schneemann infield?
Yeah, I mean,
at second and short. I mean, Brito is going to be coming back soon, so he can take second base.
When can Fry throw the ball again?
Allegedly not until probably September, maybe August, from what the guys on the radio have been saying. I think I've heard like Hamilton and Rosie say probably not until late in the season. But yes, that would be helpful. But is he only going to play first base? Is he only going to play? Can he throw from third to first? Can he throw from right field?
I was thinking moving Hosey. Hosey's played the entire infield.
Yeah, I think that's a lot to ask of Fry's arm.
Exactly.
From third to first, from right field to first. I don't know. And when was the last time Jose played second base? I feel like it's been a few years. And would he want to move?
12 years. 12, 13. I mean, hey, I remember Santana playing right field and left field and third base too. So
and didn't Kitness play center field in the playoffs?
He did. He did.
Yeah. Yeah, they do some weird stuff sometimes, but that's another point that I know it's a different team somewhat, but think about all the Terry Francona years that this team was just kind of not really doing a lot in May and April,
Still
and then
made
they
the
start to pick it
playoffs.
up later in the year, later
Still
in the
made the
season.
playoffs.
And,
Never
and
had a losing season with Tito.
the
last season.
The last
was
season,
his,
with
yeah,
the
was
two,
his,
but they were like 2 below 500. Yeah,
mhm. That
and
was the
people were
only
talking
one.
about it like it was the end of the world.
Oh, God. All right, before we get into the trade talk, I do have to ask you one question because we're about to have fun with something right now.
Okay,
What is up with Carlos Santana's short shorts? that is driving me insane right now. Like I love the high socks. Don't get me wrong. I loved it when Tommy did it back in the day. I think it's a classic old school baseball look with the high socks all the way up to the knees. But he is getting like inner thigh area right now.
Yeah.
Like what is up with like, and also where do you find socks that go up that high that you can pull your pants up to mid quad?
I think he's basically just wearing leggings, probably.
What the hell is going on with that?
I have to wonder. So, are they modified? Like, are they cutoffs, or are they
Is he
just
wearing
rolled
shorts?
up? Or did he actually get shorts made for him? Like, it kind of looks like the old Jordan shorts from
Right?
like 70s basketball era.
Larry Bird short shorts.
Yeah, I mean, just get him a pair of those with the the little triangle cut on the sides.
Oh my God, I see that all the time, and all I can do is laugh. I've been asking everybody. I've been putting it on Twitter. I'm like, Andre, what is going on with these short shorts? I've asked Carlos Baerga what's going on with these short shorts.
I would actually love to hear why he feels more comfortable that way. Like, what about it? Like, are the pants restricting to him, or
is it
is it a stretch thing at first base? Like, is he able to stretch out farther or something? Like, there's got to be an actual reason. Or maybe he's just like, you know what? It's really hot in July in Cleveland in August. I need a little more breathing room.
The only thing I could think of is like the strike zone. That's the only thing I could think of is he pulled it up to get the lower pitches called balls because his pants are higher instead of that low strike zone. That's the only thing I could think of.
So his knees were like more visible to the umpire.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, that's low.
Maybe.
It was in the black. It was in the black. You saw it in the blue down there. Oh, my God. All right, let's get into silly season. Rumors are swirling. Quan, Class A. Good God, people are retarded when they say Jose Ramirez. But Jose Ramirez, there's a lot of rumors going around about people being shopped, possibly, with contracts going on. Jose Ramirez, I don't even want to talk about that because people that are going to think that are just they're crazy.
Trade clause. He's not going anywhere.
Well, yeah, but Class A and Quan are kind of intriguing right now. And would you be okay getting rid of one of them to help out this team?
I could see them trading Class A if they're out of it, and here's why. Because he's controllable. I think he'll get a big return. And we were talking about Achilles earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like Class A, his elbow could be a ticking time bomb.
Ooh.
Like I don't think he's had Tommy John. He throws 102. How long can he keep that up? I wouldn't like it just for the sake of doing it because I don't think the bullpen's deep enough, clearly, because they're average right now, a very average bullpen. So if you're putting Cade Smith in the closing role, that means that somebody else is going to have to take over the 8th inning role. Gaddis has regressed a little bit this year. Tim Herron has regressed a little bit this year. Can Trevor Stephan come back after Tommy John? You had expressed your concerns about Shane Bieber coming back after Tommy John. Will Trevor Stephan be the reliever that he was after Tommy John? We don't know. So will there be somebody else to take that 8th inning role if you promote Cade Smith to closer after trading Class A? It's really tough. I don't want anything to do with trading Stephen Kwan either. I would really, really like them to work out a contract extension with him. If they move on from Kwan, I don't know. What does this team look like in 2 years without Stephen Kwan? Like, because we were talking about hitting development Well, he's the one guy that they've actually developed.
And hey,
So,
and pitchers hate him with a passion.
and he's just so important in that leadoff spot. I want no business with trading Stephen Kwan. If you do have to do it, does he have 2 years of control left?
Yeah, I think so.
So this was ARB 1, yeah. So next year's ARB 2. I don't want anything to do with trading Stephen Kwan until he is a pending free agent in 2027 in July. And if you don't have a contract worked out with him by then, you can trade him in July if you're not contending in 2027. Otherwise, I want nothing to do with it. Class A, on the other hand, I could see it because there is a thought that, well, is how much time do you have left of elite Class A? A lot of people already thought he was washed at the beginning of the season, but
I did. I thought that New York series got in his head, and I thought after that he was not the same. He was throwing, you can throw 102 all you want to, but when you throw 102 meatballs, it's not like the days of old where, Chapman's throwing it by guys that are averaging only 91, 92 on the radar. Like everybody's kind of hitting 100 right now.
Yeah. Class A had, he was having an issue with right-handed hitters, and it looked like he was afraid to kind of pitch inside to them. So his cutter wasn't then cutting and catching the edge of the plate, was getting the middle of the plate. So, he was right over the middle of the plate. But since May 1st, so the last 6 weeks, he has a 1.65 ERA.
Hey,
so,
all right.
I mean, and he had that blown save yesterday, so that's fresh on everybody's mind. But like he had one earned run, I believe, given up before that for like 6 weeks. So, but I could see if the season's over, I don't want anything to do with trading Class A, or Lane Thomas or Carlos Santana. If you are contending, if you've got a wild card spot by the trade deadline, or if you're like a game out, I'm not interested in throwing away the season. And, think about how mad everybody was in 23 when they did that. And you know what, I felt like a little bit of a different situation because you were trying to win a really bad division, versus, and you would have went into the playoffs like with 84 wins or 85 wins or something like that. But if you've got a chance to get closer to 90 or 91, 92 wins, and you're in a wild card spot, and you're going in with momentum and making trades to enhance this team versus trading players away, I feel a little bit better about that than what any potential 2023 run would have been. And keep in mind, last year, yeah, they did get to the ALCS, but I had mentioned how they had that really, really nice start at the beginning of the season. And then from basically, I think it was like July, August, September, they were basically 500 for that second half of that season, or at least a couple of months there. They were running at about 500 for quite a while. So they hit their skid on the back end. Like I said, though, we'll find out here in the next 2-3 weeks. If they continue this skid and they're not winning, then it is over. But you did mention strength of schedule. It gets a lot easier from here. Unfortunately, not starting today because you've got the Giants, and so it may not happen. But I did mention sometimes they surprise you. Sometimes when you're like, this team's garbage, they're terrible, and then they go ahead and win a series like that against the Giants
and rattle off 6 wins in a row, and you're like, all right, where was this team 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, and then you'll get the we're back memes all over Guards Twitter. And
all right, so Brian, before we get fat for Fat Boy Tuesday, got one player on this team that needs to step it up, whether it be offensive, defensive, or pitching. What one player do you need to step up on this team?
Kyle Manzardo, get back to what you were doing at the beginning of the season. If everybody wants to trade away Carlos Santana, well, then Kyle Manzardo's got to step it up, and he plays against righties. You see mostly righties starting pitching, so he's still getting plenty of playing time. He's in a slump. I want to see better at bats out of him instead of a lot of, like I said, those sliders away getting them. I think he's the one right now because you need a lot out of him. You're expecting him to be the future when Santana is gone next year. He is your future first baseman. He's supposed to be the power guy in the middle of the lineup, and for the last several weeks, it's just not been there. And I think if he starts to get going again, because he was doing really well at the beginning of the season, you'll start to see this team play a lot better as a whole, because there is that potential that everybody just feels a lot of pressure right now. You know, like, because they're not scoring, everybody's just trying to do too much. So if, a couple of guys start to get warm up a little bit, then maybe that just takes pressure off of everybody and everybody starts to elevate.
I like it. Maybe he needs to shave his mustache. Maybe that's what he needs to do. Even though that is a glorious Mike Schmidt mustache. Like, I wish
it is a very nice
my mustache looked like that. Like, I tried, my wife, nope, shave it. I'm like, come on, honey, it's Mustache Monday. Nope, shave it. I'm like, fine.
Is it because it's blonde? Because did you see Shane Bieber's mustache in the dugout the other day?
I did not see Shane Bieber's, and it's not even blonde. It's like an orange. It's like, it's like Mike Schmidt back in 1978 or whatever. Just, that thing is glorious.
Shane looks better full beard. I'll say that. Judging another man's look, Shane looks better full beard than just mustache. But yes, Kyle's is it's thick, it's long, it's a nice mustache,
and it fits his face just perfect. Like, it's like, some people can wear a mustache, some people can't. Manzardo can wear a mustache.
Right. It doesn't look creepy 70s stash. Like, it's a nice, it's a good, like, Tom Selleck stash.
Yeah, like, you're not getting a ring at the doorbell going, "I'm here to fix your cable," kind of mustache. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. All right, let's get fat for Fat Boy Tuesday. Let's talk some Northeast Ohio food. What do you think?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I pitched the question to you.
I told you we had more sounders.
Oh, that's right.
And now, it's time for Fat Boy Tuesday.
I love Fat Boy Tuesday. Gets me so excited. Now, you asked me, okay, besides pierogies, which Cleveland's known for, so Northeast Ohio staple foods.
Yeah, and I'm asking you because there's sometimes being here most of your life, you don't necessarily know, like, what's not the norm other places. I had mentioned the mustard to you, the stadium mustard, and how I didn't know that stadium mustard wasn't a thing everywhere until I was in college in New England. Pierogies was kind of a different thing. I thought everybody knew about pierogies, but then I had some friends that were from the West Coast, and they're like, "What's a pierogi?"
I was in the same boat growing up, like, and I'm from Central Ohio. We'll just say that, like, and now I'm south of New Philadelphia, so like Coshocton, Ohio. So I'm South Central Ohio.
Yeah,
like,
I know Coshocton.
I didn't know pierogies. I didn't know pierogies.
Really?
No, I'm being dead serious. Now, once I got up here, I was greatly introduced, and they are the greatest magical thing that have ever been made.
Coshocton Kroger doesn't have Mrs. T's in the freezer aisle?
Yeah, but I didn't know what they were. Like, okay, I'm being dead. Like, my family never cooked them.
Yeah, sure.
Like, my family was poor. Let's just be honest. We weren't the richest, but I mean, not saying that pierogies are rich, but like, that was never in the menu for us. Like we
Yeah.
always had like fried potatoes and everything else. Now, once I got pierogies, I was like, pfft. I was like, now I need onions. Now I need sauerkraut. Now
Yep.
I need a whole bunch of other stuff to it.
I want some
But
cheese in there too. Yeah.
oh God, pierogies are so good. So, and my favorite thing with pierogies, and people are probably going to think I'm weird about this too, is my wife kind of turned me on to this, but it's a little different. Is I do sour cream and hot sauce and mix it together and just kind of eat my pierogies like potato chips.
Oh, interesting.
I just
So like that's like so the hot sauce and sour cream is almost like a dip.
Yeah, just the dip and
Nice.
just right in. And if I don't have that, then I'm getting some mustard. Now, we did get a comment. I put out the stadium mustard on the Network 216 show. We did get a comment. Somebody from Chicago said that is a Chicago mustard that was brought to Cleveland and then made in Cleveland, and Cleveland owns it from there. So technically,
Stadium mustard Chicago thing.
I'm going to have to check the facts on that, but we'll figure that out. But one thing I've noticed from Cleveland, definitely the Eastern European food here is just on point. I mean, kielbasa, potato pancakes, punski. Oh my God, I love potchkis.
So that was going to be, I was going to ask that, like, it feels like, yes, the Polish food, you know, a lot of Ukrainian culture here as well. So I feel like that has become a Cleveland staple because, and maybe it's more of a regional thing, but like, you know, Pittsburgh claims pierogies as well. And they claim sausages as well. Like they claim, you know, to have the kielbasa and the bratwurst and as well. So it, like, you know, more Ohio Valley, I guess, you know, the whole area. So I was curious, like, well, what are other, you know, Northeast Ohio staples? And then I was thinking to myself, like, well, there kind of also is it. Maybe it's not Northeast Ohio, but it feels like there is like an Ohio style pizza, like that Donato's style. That Donato's style is an Ohio.
That's Columbus style.
Pizza. Yeah, I know they're based out of Columbus, but like, you know, you've got that Ohio style pizza.
Yeah. Okay. So my big take on that though is with pizza, Cleveland has its own style pizza.
You think?
Now, there's 3 different pizzas in Ohio, and you have the Columbus style, which is the Donato's, the thin crust, the whole bunch of toppings. You have the Cleveland style, which I believe is like a mix between the Detroit, the New Haven, New York, depending on where you get it from, because there's great pizza all around Cleveland, and it's all different, not all the same. Like my favorite pizza, a Slice Above in Strongsville. I love a Slice Above because they do different stuff with it. Like, have you ever had the Gobbler, the Thanksgiving pizza?
I have not.
Dude, you gotta get that. Yeah, look up Slice Above. You'll be very happy. And plus, the Honeybee is a very good. We did an out and about with them.
So we'll put 2 together. I think it's PJ's here in Parma. They do a pierogi pizza.
Yes, and they do a pierogi pizza too. Like they do all sorts of pizza, festivities pizzas. But you also have like Pizza 216.
Yeah.
You have Sweet Basil here in Westlake, which is phenomenal. I love Sweet Basil. You have what I like, Geppetto's is a great pizza for me. You also have like the chains that are around here. Now, I also lived on the west side of Cleveland, or not Cleveland, of Ohio, and their pizza is a little different because they melt the cheese on top. So all the toppings, the sauce, everything, and then they melt the cheese on the top. And it comes out and it's like burnt cheese on top, and it's a thinner crust. So like there's 2 different styles the way
I was gonna say, so there's not like a definitive style around here.
No.
But the most definitive in terms of style wise does feel like that Donato's style. Like that's pretty unique to Ohio, and you know, Donato's being started here. You know, because like everybody knows a New York pizza, everybody knows the Chicago deep dish. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the Eastern European too, because like that's definitely big around here. A lot of people brought their food culture with them, and then it's become part of Northeast Ohio, and there's a lot of really good eating around here.
And the one thing I love about Cleveland, and you and I talked about this, there's different sections in Cleveland. So you go over to like East Cleveland, you get some great barbecue, some great soul food, also Italian food on point on the east side.
Yeah,
Okay, you go south, it's Eastern European, they're in Parma, everything else in Slavic Village, all that stuff. You go west, it's a whole different thing in Lakewood, all that. So like you could travel around Cleveland and
right.
find whatever you want.
Yeah, I was going to mention Little Italy too, and the food there, but like, can you be known for Italian in the United States? Like, it feels like so many cities can be known for their Italian. Like New York is known for their Italian. So like, are you also, can you also be known for your Italian in Little Italy? But it is phenomenal food. It is really, really good. I'm just curious if like, what all can you really claim as like it being a Northeast Ohio staple?
Okay.
Like that was kind of my thought process there. It was like, what really is ours?
I have one. And if you've never been to one, fried perch here.
Oh, that's a good one. You're right. That's really good.
People, fried perch or anything off the lake, any fish off the lake, phenomenal. And you got fish fries everywhere.
Yeah, the Friday fish fries, like all the churches, like go to like the churches that do the fish fries. Yeah, and if it's Lake Erie perch, that's a good one. Good grab there.
And also clam bakes.
Oh yeah.
This place is notorious for clam bakes. And
fall clam bake.
Yeah, I've never. Everyone's like, "Oh, we're having a clam bake." I'm like, "What are you guys talking about?" And then I've been to one. I'm like, "Okay, I've never been to one of these." Another one that I do have to, and I know everybody has delis. I know everybody has the amount of delis here in Cleveland with the corned beef. You can get corned beef anywhere, but the way they do it here in Cleveland, it just, you can find a deli on any corner and you're getting a good corned beef sandwich. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, you're getting a good corned beef, pastrami, turkey, even like State Road Meats.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the Dude Network, and they're part of Network 216. I'm friends with Tony, everything else. He just came up and did State Road Meats. Just places like that. Those are gems, because you walk into that place, one, your family when you walk into that place. Two, most of those places, cash only. You ain't bringing a credit card into this place. Yeah. Like, you got to bring cash in, and you're going to get what you want. But yeah, the two things that came to mind were the clam bakes and the fried perch. And those
are really good. Because like, even for a while too, like you mentioned, like delis, like the panini with the fries, like I always thought was like a Cleveland staple. But then you started to see it in other places, and I don't know who came first. Like, I don't know if we had it first or if it was somewhere else. But yeah, it sometimes when you travel around, like, I lived in Buffalo, so they're known for the buffalo wings. They're known for chicken wings. Now there's great chicken wings here in Cleveland too. And then
there are.
Louisville, probably not as famous as it should be, but Louisville barbecue is really, really good. I know, like, a lot of people talk about St. Louis barbecue and Kansas City barbecue. Louisville's got some really good barbecue as well. So bourbon and barbecue in Louisville.
All right, Justin. Justin is from Louisville right now. So he grew up in Coshocton and moved to Louisville. So he's going to love this, because
I was going to say, so he'll have to let me know if I'm right.
He is actually a chef. He does his own ice cream, everything else. So, like, yeah, Justin, you're going to have to let me know about the barbecue down in Louisville, because I know barbecue. By the way, Cleveland barbecue is a little different too. You got Mabel's with the mustard style.
Oh yeah.
You have Mabel's, and even and I've noticed this lately, the Spanish influence with some of, like, Barrio, Cilantro Tequila, some of the other places around here.
Oh yeah. Like Habanero, what's that spot? Yeah, like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. A lot of yes. With like the Day of the Dead themes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, the ghost pepper tequila is what you're talking about there in Olmsted Falls.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one's. But I mean, that's the great thing about Cleveland is because it is a mishmash. So no matter what you want, you have it here, and you can find it anywhere you want to. And like for me, growing up in a small town, I didn't get that luxury. Like we only had certain things, and that was it. So like you go to Italian, like if you want real Italian, you're going to have to go to the big city to get real Italian. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like
yeah.
going to Little Italy, going to like my favorite Italian place is Mama Catina's. They're off of Babbitt Road on whatever, I think off of 90 and Babbitt Road. There's just great places. Justice says, send me a link. We can talk food. And I said, okay, there it is. All right. Is there any other Northeast Ohio food that I'm kind of?
I don't know. We talked about a lot. Like actually, that was really good. I didn't think we were going to come up with that many. That was a really good conversation. I'm really proud of us, to be honest.
Hey, I do have to give one more shout out to the bakeries around here also.
Yeah.
Most of these delis have got bakeries. Like over here, I got Fragapans.
Colosa's near me, which is a really good one.
Go in and get a nice loaf. Is there any ones? I'm trying to think of other bakeries around here. And I'm drawing a blank right now because there's one in Chagrin, but we are way past time. So let's get into our top three. And I'm sorry for keeping you this long because
it's
only supposed to be an hour show.
Hey,
and we're getting excited.
I'm a talker. I had a lot to get through, right? That's on me.
Let's close out Fat Boy Tuesday. Let's get into our top three, and then we will answer the trivia and then close it out. All right, Mr. Shaw, what are your top three favorite summer activities?
So I'd say golf right now is at the top. Definitely golf. And then going down to the lake, or like out on a boat, if some friends with boats and spending the day out on the boat. And then like that random summer day where maybe you don't have anything really going on and just ends up being like a day drinking day, just a hanging out in the sun in your backyard on your deck with your neighbors and your friends, and you're just, there's not really a care, like a care in the world of just like, you know what, I'm just gonna hang out today. Maybe I'll make some ribs later, or maybe it like 4th of July kind of feels like that day a lot of the time. So where it's like, you know what, I'm not doing anything today, but sitting in my chair, enjoying the sun and enjoying some light beers all day long.
I love that. That is fantastic. That's my number three. Back patio, drinking, friends over, music playing in the background. You got the grill out, grill whatever you want, and just enjoy the day.
My wife adds one little extra part to that. She gets the baby pool, and she's got her lawn chair with her feet sitting in the baby pool.
My wife does the same thing. That's amazing. Yeah, my wife did the same thing when the kids were little. She would let the kids play, and she'd just stick her feet in the pool, just be happy and content.
Yep, out there getting the suntan, feet in the pool. Sister-in-law comes over. They got their little cooler sitting next to them.
That's great. For me, number two, fishing. Summer is fishing time. Anytime you can get out, cast line, and just, hey, what I love about casting line, you can drink with it too, especially if you're catfishing. Just throw that tight line out, sit back, have a beer, and see if anything bites. If it doesn't, you're having a good time. And number one for me is just summertime is food in general. And with all the cookouts and everything else, it seems like that's the favorite summer activity, is just going to people's houses, cookouts, and just having a blast, and barbecues and everything else. So those are my top three. All right. Now I did ask you a trivia question. All right. The longest hitting streak in MLB, or on base streak in MLB history, and the longest one for your Cleveland Guardians/Indians.
So initially I said Bonds, and you said,
Yes.
and you gave me a look like, you're not right there. My next guess is Tony Gwynn.
Nope.
No. Okay. Is that the right era?
No.
No. Is it Aaron Judge?
No.
No.
Earlier than everything.
Oh wow. So it's like,
Who is the best hitter of all time in the Major League?
is it Babe Ruth or
Who's the next one?
Lou Gehrig?
The next one?
I don't know. So who is it?
Ted Williams.
Oh, okay. All right.
Ted Williams, I think it was 86.
Okay.
86 or 88 games. Hold on. I have
Wow.
longest streak. Okay.
So half the season, he was on base.
84 games.
Wow.
It was in 1949.
Wow.
So 84 games he reached safely on base in a row.
That's incredible.
Right?
That's incredible.
All right. So next up, who's the Cleveland Guardians?
Guardians. Or Indians, because I'm sure it's a 90s era player. How about Albert?
It's a 2000s player.
Oh. Victor.
Close. I think Victor was the third. No, Victor's second. So it's this person, Victor, then Jose.
Well, then it's got to be Grady or Hafner. So I'll go Hafner.
All right, I kind of bamboozled you on that one because he did play in the 90s and the 2000s. Jim Thome.
Oh, okay.
55.
Wow. What year?
2002.
Okay.
So 2002, 55 in a row on base.
I got stumped bad here. I didn't do well.
Those are crazy stats, though, right? I mean, you think of 55 games in a row on base, whether it be a walk, whatever. Like that's
yeah. So that's why, like, that was my thought process. Was like guys that hit for high average, and then guys that were walking a lot. Like when I mentioned Bonds, like I feel like he was just getting intentionally walked all the time.
It was every day.
And so I figured there would be a long on base streak there, and then like Gwynn, in his high averages, plus mixing some walks in there as well. Hey, at least I was close with Victor Martinez. At least I was in the top three.
Yeah, Victor Martinez was second with, I believe, 40 something. I think it was 42. So he almost got him.
Jim Thome. All right.
Jim Thome. Hey, you learned something new on the legal hand to the face. All right, but I can't thank you enough for joining the show tonight. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
WXSHAW on Twitter. It's just Bryan Shaw on Facebook. You can also find our podcast on Facebook and on Twitter. It's just MLB Guardcast with Mike Voorhees. And that is on Spotify. It is on Apple Podcasts. It is on YouTube. I didn't get this last episode up on YouTube. I just didn't have time to edit it. I had some things come up, but it's on Spotify and Apple. But I mean, I don't know. Our numbers definitely go down. The few numbers that we do have, our numbers definitely go down when the Guardians are playing well. So I don't expect a lot of people to want to hear like, well, they could get better. Maybe they'll get better, but I was talking about today a lot about like WRC plus and OPS and those kinds of things. And we get into the nitty gritty there. Like we were talking about earlier in the season about Class A and his heat map of where he was locating his pitches and where he was missing them. And it was the inside to right-handed hitters that he was not hitting those marks. And that's why everything was out over the plate. So we try to get into a little bit deeper analysis. So if that's something that you're into or something that you're interested, give us a listen.
All right, go check them out. Give them that like, subscribe, and follow. Also, hey, we're here at the end of the show. You know how we always do. We got to thank our troops, first responders for everything you guys do. We love you guys. Brian normally says this, so I got to say it now. God bless you. God bless America. And we are Legal Ham to Face. We're definitely uncorked, uploaded. We're out. We will see you guys next Tuesday. Have a good night.